just about 3 years, April of 2000, I was involved in a shootout. I was actually working as a security guard, off-duty security, in a store called Jimmy Jazz, downtown Brooklyn. And some young guys came into the store to rob it. And me being the security guard, end up getting involved. At first, when they displayed the weapon, I was taken aback. It's like, oh my God, they had a gun, right? And I guess the showing of the gun was to intimidate me. And what probably saved my life is that I asked the guy, hey, do you have a permit for that gun? And I think that took him off guard, and it bought me a couple seconds. And then when they realized, they both started beating up on me. They both started punching me and beating up on me. I still have scar from the beating. If you see here, see, they punched me, beat me up, broke my tooth. And all I was telling myself is that you can't fall. You can't fall. You can't get on the ground, because I know at least one of them had a gun because I saw the gun. And, I had my hands in my face trying to cover my face to shorten the blows. And I keep saying, you can't fall. You can't fall. And I got away a little. And I looked up through my hands, and I saw the gun pointing at me. By this time, we may be about 4 or 5 feet from each other. And the gun pointing at me, and in an instant, there was gunfire. I saw the flash from the muzzle of the gun. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I said there was 2 things that raced through my mind. One, my daughter was 3 months old at the time, and I was like, man, I didn't even christen my daughter yet. And I knew I was going to die on that day. And 2, I said, I'm going to die, but you know what? At least the NYPD cops, when they come, they should see me with my firearm in my hand, rather than I'm dying here and I didn't even get to pull my weapon. And they're going to find me dead on the ground with a weapon in a holster. And so I reached for my weapon as the 5th or 6th shot was ringing out. And instantly, there was a veil. I saw it. Nobody could tell me otherwise. There was like a veil that came in front of me, a white veil, and someone standing there. And I knew that my Lord and Savior, my protector, Jesus Christ, was there with me during this ordeal. And as the 6th or so shot rang out, I pulled my firearm and I fired in the direction of the gentleman. It was probably a oh my God shot. And I fired maybe a couple more. And then I saw like the gentleman crouched. And I fired a couple more, and then he went down. And as I'm going towards him to try and render some sort of aid now, from the corner of my eyes, I saw the other gentleman with a firearm shooting after me. Now, initially, I only thought one of the guys had a gun because they only displayed one gun, but they both had weapons on them. And he started firing at me, and I returned fire at him. And he too dropped. But when he dropped like on his knees, and he started crawling. He reached over, picked up the first guy's firearm, crawled out of the store, and instantly a car pulled up. He jumped in the car and he got away. 911 was called. And police responded, cops responded. And I remember The first guy on the scene was a white gentleman, and he asked, "Who's the cop here?" Because I guess they must have said, "Hey, a cop." Whatever they said to 911, a cop involved in a shooting. And there I am with dreadlocks, blue jeans, blue sneakers. It was I would never forget, it was a Nike Air Max 95. The Nikes had just come out. We're talking, this was April 2000. So here I am, blue jeans, blue sneakers. I think I had on a blue shirt. And I said, "I'm the cop." And he pointed to the guy on the ground and he's like, "Well, who's that?" And I said, "Well, he's the guy that was shooting at me." But the guy on the ground was clean shaven, well dressed, could definitely look as a cop. And here I am, the guy with dreadlocks is now saying, "I'm the cop." And he asks, "Where's your ID at?" And I'm like, "In my pocket." And he goes, "I'll get it," because he didn't want me going into my pocket. And he reached in and he got my ID and my shield and realized that indeed I was a cop. And he's like, "Wow." I was like, "Well, there seems to be like another two." I said, "The second guy, I don't know if I hit him, but he got into a car." He goes, "Did you get a plate on the car?" I'm like, "No, I was, going to the other guy to get him some assistance." He started shooting at me. And then they jumped in the car and they left. So, NYPD put the bulletin out. And it turned out the other guy was hit. He was hit in his leg. And they drove from Brooklyn over to Manhattan. They went into a hospital in Manhattan, and that's where NYPD arrested them. So the second guy was hit a couple of times in his leg. And the first gentleman that started shooting at me, he was deceased at the scene. I was removed to the hospital for treatment. And while at the hospital, the chief on that night came into the hospital. And I remember he saying to me, he's asking me, "How you feeling, officer?" And said, I wasn't hit, I wasn't shot by the mercies of God. I think about seven or eight bullets was fired within close proximity at me. Like I said, 4 to 5 feet away, and all missed. Well, they missed me. There was a co-worker that worked in the store that was behind me. He ended up getting hit with one of the bullets, but none of the bullets hit me because I guess that veil protected me. Both guys were arrested. And while at the hospital, I remember the chief asking me the night, he's like, "Are you married? And you have a family?" "Yeah." "Like, do you drink alcohol?" And at the time, I was never a big drinker, I was a social drinker. But the chief said to me, he says, "When you get released from the hospital tonight, I want you to go home. Go in your fridge, get a cold beer, drink that beer, and make love to your wife." Because he goes, "I just looked at some footage from the store, and you're the luckiest man in New York City tonight." He says, "I don't know how you think you're not dead. How come we're not dealing with a dead cop here?" But he goes, "You are very lucky for not to have gotten hit by any one of these bullets." One of the bullets from my gun shot through the glass in the store that I was in, traveled across the street, through all these people in the street, and entered another store and broke that glass, and nobody got hit. Tell me that's not the glory of God. Crowded street. Bullet broke the glass in the store that I was in, traveled across Fulton Street and entered another store, and nobody got hit. That veil. In another episode, I'll give you another example when that veil was also present. Was that the first and the only time? Was that the only time actually a gun was pulled on me in the job? No. Like I said, I work plain clothes. I used to do a lot go in and buy stolen merchandise from guys, and you know they're getting locked up soon. People threatening to blow your head out because they suspect maybe you was a cop, and you got to denounce cops and saying you're not a cop, and talk all that lingo that the street lingo. Sometimes you have the Celt and your team is listening. Sometimes you go in cold. The team know you're in there and they're waiting for you to come back out in one piece to send the signal so that they can go in and make their arrest. But all of that was done in creating a safe community and a safe society for the residents. Absolutely no regrets with the contribution I made to the New York City Police Department. This Bible is near and dear to me. This Bible was given to me by my mom when I went to the States in 1989. And like I said, I started reading it daily, keeping a chronological record from 1990 up until present. This Bible had been around the world with me. Wherever I travel, it's in my bag. So even if I'm on vacation, it's with me. It's been to the Middle East. It's been to Cuba. While I was on active military duty, I spent a year in the Middle East, and it was right there. And it stays right here at my bedside table. So I wake up in the morning, open it up, and I read and refer to God.